Good morning, my friends. We have located a witness to torture committed right here in the good old U.S.A. A man who was tortured while held in the ICE office in Fayetteville, Arkansas, who was innocent and who was subsequently deported to cover up that Chertoff and his people used torture. But first, let me read the 8th Amendment to the Constitution for you. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishment inflicted. So now, how do we get around it? Let's listen to Supreme Court Justice Scalia. He has an idea. Torture is not punishment.
Has anybody ever referred to torture as punishment?
Next.
And we have a law against torture.
Actually, I'm not quite sure whether he knows what the hell he is talking about. Congress made sure that torture is absolutely legal within the United States. You heard that right. Under 18 U.S.C. 2340A, torture is only illegal when performed outside the United States. Why? Here goes. That accounts, for example, for Florida's and other states' torture and cruel treatment of prisoners. For example, dumping of a paraplegic, or for that matter, choking of the daughter of a state attorney. Assaults, here covered up by Jeb Bush. We also talked already about the el-Masri case, a German national who was outsourced for torture by the CIA for months until eventually released because he was the wrong man. See my clip, CIA, travel agents and torture tourism. Today we have another case, the case of, let's call him HASAN for his protection, a Pakistani who lived, studied and worked in the United States since 1980. And his U.S. citizen disabled wife and their 2 U.S. citizen children. Let's call her Rose. Rose, you're a U.S. citizen?
I'm a United States citizen, so are my 2 children.
This case is interesting because it provides clear evidence that immigration, ICE for short, allows organized crime figures employed by Homeland Security to torture ICE detainees right here in this country. Rose's father appears to have suffered from xenophobia when he, to torpedo their marriage, on December 20, 2005, contacted immigration and gave them some false information about HASAN. Now, HASAN is not an ordinary guy. He holds 2 master's degrees from Princeton and bachelor's degrees from Irvine, California, Missouri, and Arkansas. HASAN, you do have degrees from Princeton and other universities, correct?
I have bachelor's from those and 2 master's degrees from Princeton University, an MBA, and a Master in Science and Computer Science.
You are also the author of 2 books on Islam, I believe.
I wrote 2 books on Islam.
He also was a consultant to a large number of Fortune 500 companies, to the Department of Education and the Department of Housing and Urban Development. In response to the false information by Rose's father, on January 7, 2006, he was picked up by immigration and brought to the ICE office in Fayetteville, Arkansas. The following are statements from a sworn affidavit and from our interview of HASAN in Pakistan. Right after the arrest, my handcuffs were too tight and I requested one of the officers to loosen the handcuff. He told me to turn around, then tightened the handcuffs even more, saying, "Here you go, you sent nigger." In Fayetteville, HASAN was told that he had no rights other than to call his embassy. But it was not the federal agent's duty to give him the phone number. HASAN continues, "They drove me to the ICE office in Fayetteville where the beatings and torture happened." You mean waterboarding?
Not waterboarding like they show on TV, just really cold ice water buckets to make me freeze and keep me awake while I was naked laying on the cold floor. Pork, it seemed like, which got soaked in my urine, but I had to eat it because that was the only food available.
He continues, after a while they came back and told me to strip. He took his taser out and zapped me. When I woke up, I was lying on the floor, naked and wet. He kept hitting me and slapping at his pleasure. HASAN was held there for a few days.
I was there for quite a few days, I think about 6 or 7.
Then moved to Kansas, Louisiana, from where he was taken to Memphis, Tennessee, where he was met by an ICE agent who gave him a blank piece of paper to sign. If he did not, he would stay there forever. As of this day, he has not found out what the ICE people wrote on the paper. Every FOIA request was ignored. On February 7, 2006, he was put on a Marshall flight and flown to Pakistan. Pakistani officials gave him $100 and left him on his own, without family or anyone else to help him. Eventually, he managed to get hold of his wife, who sold her engagement ring to pay for the passport and the trip to Pakistan together with their children. And now it gets really strange. Rose tried to convince the American consulate to allow her husband, who had committed no crime, to return to the States. She was told that not only he would not get the required visa, but she and their 2 children could not return either unless she divorced her husband and came up with 3 people vouching for her. You remember now, all 3 were American citizens, right? In other words, the consulate refused to allow 3 natural-born citizens to return to the United States. Now that is a good one. Something the Supreme Court, the one we looked up to at the time, had ruled on in Trop versus Dulles, 356 U.S. 86, 1958. There the court held that punishing a natural-born citizen for a crime by taking away his citizenship is unconstitutional, being more primitive than torture because it involved the total destruction of the individual status in organized society. But then, as Scalia said, not everything odious is against the Constitution. That may be so, but torture is not just odious, it is a crime against humanity, as held in the Vienna Convention ratified by the United States. When I began investigating this case, I wondered why immigration, known to me as a team of decent people, would engage in such conduct. Maybe it wasn't immigration. Indeed, when researching the background, I came across a statement of Cynthia O'Connell, the acting director of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, Office of Intelligence, in which she admits that the Office of Intelligence supports the Department of Homeland Security. Now the questions asked of HASAN make sense and have nexus to the DHS. What was his plan to bomb our nuclear facilities? His knowledge of the 9/11 attacks. The amount of money he was sending to terrorists. Remember now, he was an IT specialist, including for our government, and had nothing whatever to do with terrorists. No one is going to help you. I'm a federal agent. I will send you to Gitmo if you don't tell me what you know. Do you think you can get away with this, being a Muslim in the US, writing books about shit Islam? Finally, thinking with his skin rather than with his brain, the federal agent was very upset about HASAN marrying a white woman and having children with her, being from Pakistan and a Muslim. On a different issue, let's see whether the well-advertised change includes the prosecution of those who torture people. We don't need the torture statute to do this. Assault on a prisoner is a felony by itself. As Lincoln once said, to sin by silence when they should protest makes cowards of men. Finally now, if you have been tortured, get in touch with us. We want to know.